diagrams from skeletal, muscular, circulatory, immune system, and so forth. So we'll be talking about a bunch of those. But to start off here, we sort of organize human bodies into 11 main systems. And if you remember back when we talked about organization of living things, we start off, what's the simplest level of organization? So it's cells. Cells work together and they form tissues. Body tissues work together to form organs. Organs work together to form organ systems. So that's where we are here. So we list 11 human body systems we'll talk about. Now the first one we're really not going to cover very much at all. In fact, this is about all I'll say. The integumentary system, somebody mentioned it earlier, includes basically body covering. Skin, hair, nails. This is a body system that protects us, keeps things like bacteria and other pathogens out of our body. It's a barrier. Helps make our body waterproof so we can stay hydrated. There's lots of different sense organs in the integumentary system as well to feel, temperature, feel pressure, and so forth. But we're not going to get into too much detail. But we will in all the others. So skeletal system, system of bones. Muscular system, all of our muscles. Nervous system, nerves, brain, spinal cord. Endocrine system. What's that one? Yeah, it's the glands which produce hormones in the body. Circulatory system, we all know, is our heart, arteries, veins. Lymphatic system. This one we mentioned when we were talking about parasites and elephantiasis. The lymphatic system redistributes fluid, body fluid, lymph throughout our body. Respiratory system, for taking in oxygen, releasing carbon dioxide. Digestive system to break down food into simple molecules. Excretory system for the removal of waste. And reproductive system for the production of new offspring. So those are our 11 human body systems. And they all are necessary, they all are important to maintain homeostasis. This is a very important word for you guys to understand. Did you use this word in health class? No? Okay.
Here's the bone being fed. There's the osteoporosis.
That's osteoporosis. Homeostasis is your body's ability, your body's functioning to keep conditions balanced, to maintain the proper environment within our body. Okay, obviously, our bodies work best at certain temperatures, certain pH, with a certain amount of glucose and oxygen in our blood. And so these body systems work to help maintain the proper levels of all of those various conditions. That's homeostasis. If our body cannot maintain homeostasis, that's when we're sick. Because there's some problem with one of our body systems breaking down and not able to maintain homeostasis. So, we mentioned this. We look at the organization of living things from simplest to most complex. We have cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, okay, and the entire living organism. We go back to the very beginning when we talked about cells. Cells are the building blocks of life, the basic unit of life. They're what all living organisms are composed of. We are made of cells. And cells work together in groups to complete certain functions. We call that tissues. Tissue is a cluster of cells performing a similar job. There are nerve tissue, muscle tissue, blood is a tissue, skin, epithelial tissue. There's all sorts of different types of tissue that are present inside of our body. Olivia?
Can you damage your tissue?
Excuse me? Yeah, you can. I mean, any damage. If you get a cut, you're damaging, skin tissue. Then tissues combine different ways to form organs, specific organs in our body, like our heart, our lungs, our arteries, our brain. Okay, these are organs. Several organs working together to accomplish something are an organ system. Collection of organs that do one specific job in our body. Whether it's to break down food or to deliver things throughout our body. A group of organs working together. Finally, our last step here, a complete living organism. One living thing. In this case, we're talking about humans. These are human body systems we're talking about. And so, all of those organ systems that make up form a complete living organism, one person. Alright, so we're going to be talking about our body system. We're going to start this week with our skeletal system. So how many bones are present? Oh, this you guys have to memorize this one, huh? For health, Daniel?
206.
206 bones in our body. And the purpose of these bones is twofold. First, to support our body, to allow us to stand upright, give our body its structure, but also to protect certain organs in our body. Tell me what's one bone in an organ that it protects. Danielle? Well, that would be a muscle. How about a bone that's protecting something in our body? Hannah?
Your rib cage protecting your lungs and heart.
Yeah, your rib cage. Okay, your rib cage protects your heart and your lungs, important organs. What's another one, Olivia?
Skull protects your brain.
Your skull, your cranium, which protects your brain. Your vertebrae, which protects your spinal cord. All of these serve the function of protecting organs. So if we think about the skeletal system, we have bones, obviously, are a major part of that. Bone is a type of tissue. Okay, it's a hard, living tissue, but it is living. It's not like, bones are not like a dead material. They're living tissue. They have blood vessels that run throughout them. Okay, they're made of calcium and other things.
Then what are the bones that we buy at dogs? What are
They're the bones of dead animals.
they are?
Yeah.
So they are actually.
Yeah, they're
They
actually.
were just like plastic or something.
No, if you buy like one of those big, like,
Yeah, the ones like.
yeah, those are like real bones.
I
from
bought my
cows and
dog
stuff.
plastic bones.
Yeah.
Do they have like
They, so like they still have some protein attached to them. Most like the meat is gone off of those bones. But if your dog breaks it open, what's inside of a bone? Marrow. Okay. Center of the bone contains marrow. And that marrow is it's rich in fat. Probably to dogs it tastes really good. People eat bone marrow as well.
Would it be like taste?
I don't know. I'm a vegetarian, so I would not be the one to ask, but I'm not sure. You know, some people like if they have steak and has a bone in it, they might like eat the marrow out of the bone.
That sounds kind of weird. I don't think I'd do
Check
it.
your
No?
What happens if your rib cage is
People break ribs all the time. It's painful, and they heal eventually, but it's very painful. The marrow part of the bone, that center portion, inside of the very long bones especially, of the humerus and especially the femur, that's where bone marrow is, and that bone marrow produces different types of blood cells. So blood cells are actually produced in the skeletal system. How?
So when they say if you have leukemia, they have to take out some of your bone marrow, is it like a blood cancer or a bone cancer?
It's a blood cancer. So there's various types of blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, and even within white blood cells, there's many different types. And so sometimes a person that may have leukemia or another may get a bone marrow transplant, where they try to put donated bone marrow into their bones to help them produce normal blood cells to help relieve the effects of the cancer. Yeah, man?
If you broke a bone, would the marrow come out?
It could, some of it could, but it's not like a liquid that would like spill out. You know, it's like a fatty kind of substance. Tanya?
How do your some your side muscle well anyways I'll tell you the one.
Okay. All right, so helping to stabilize our bones, obviously our bones are connected to each other by another type of tissue that's called a ligament. Ligaments connect bones to bones and stabilize the joints that make up our body. Hold on. Okay. And so for example, you have several, this is a knee, and so the knee joint where it moves is stabilized by several different ligaments that connect and keep the femur and the tibia and fibula all aligned and moving in the right way. What's probably the most well-known of the knee ligaments that I'm sure you've probably heard of? Yeah?
ACL or meniscus.
Yeah, ACL is a ligament. So if you ever heard of an athlete or somebody you know had an ACL injury, anterior cruciate ligament, that's one of these, that's the ligament in here inside of the knee that helps stabilize the knee. And so if a person damages that ACL, they can have problems with stability, with running, with cutting, and so that's an important ligament for athletes.
I don't know if this deals with this, but how did your appendix come out? Because my friend's appendix actually came out.
They had to remove it?
Yeah, they had a
Yeah, I had my appendix out when I was a kid.
And then how did your ligament first?
Just like if you if you were planting and trying to run in one direction, and somebody hit you in the knee, then your knee could bend in a way to damage those ligaments. Dana?
Two things. One is that the Mickey Mantle, the guy just put hot on a water sprinkler in the field and all those ligaments and all around the ligaments next to it. And two, what's a joint guy? I feel like we spoke on this.
A joint is a place where two bones move in relationship to one another. So your knee is a joint that's held together by these ligaments. Ligaments are part of the joint. We'll talk about sprains, strains, tears, and that sort of stuff later on in our notes. All right, we also have tendons because our bones can't move on their own. What moves our bones? Our muscles. And in order for our muscles to attach to our bones, there's a connector called a tendon. I don't know, what's a tendon you know the name of? I bet there's just one. Well, calf's a muscle, but you're in the right area. Your Achilles tendon. The Achilles tendon is this tendon in the back of your heel, the one that's like right in the back of your shoe that you could feel. It's not that bendy. I mean, it's right back here. It's pretty hard, okay? But that's not a bone, okay? That's a tendon. And that tendon connects your calf muscles back here to the bottom of the bones in your feet. Connects.
And that's how we run.
It connects this bone down here. Connects your calf to that bone. It's this really thick, strong tendon. And so when your muscle contracts, it pulls on the tendon, which moves your foot. So you see all these pictures here, and this is the calf muscle, this is the Achilles tendon. Yeah?
When I went to the doctor's, she said that my kneecap, there's like a line between my kneecap or something like that. She said like there's cracks. How do you get the cracks?
You can fracture your patella or your kneecap sometimes.
Because that's why she said that's why I walked funny.
Oh, really?
Walk like this, but now I walk like this. But she said that's why I had a little physical.
Oh, really? Yeah. And there's tendons that stabilize your kneecap. The patellar tendon keeps it where it should be. Yeah, Matt?
Is the Achilles tendon how you stretch your calf? Like when you put your foot up like this, is that how?
Well, the tendon itself doesn't stretch that much. It's the muscle. When you stretch your calf muscle, you're stretching the muscle that's a little bit higher. All right, you do need to know some bones. You need to know the bones on this list and know where they're located and what their names are. Now, some of them have some more scientific names and then some common names that we generally might use in just your everyday language. Like you might call this your skull, okay, number one. But the technical name is the cranium.
Just like how your rib, you call your rib or rib cage.
Yeah, like the rib. Yeah, and some of those, we're just not going to go through the names, but they also have other names. Hannah?
The patella is my least favorite bone.
Oh, really? How come?
It just sounds painful when you move your kneecap.
Oh, yeah. All right. How about up here? What's that? Clavicle. You might call it your collarbone. You can feel it. It's very close to your skin, just on the top of your chest, below your neck, where your neck connects. This is your collarbone. Something that people will fracture. You know, it's an easy bone to fracture if you fall. If you cut yourself, sometimes you can fracture your collarbone.
Oh.
I don't know about the easiest, but it's kind of great.
Yeah. Like your skirt.
Sorry for the so many questions. How did your arm pop out?
Guys,
How
we're gonna get there. That's in a future slide. We'll talk about dislocation. All right, number 3. Sternum. Okay, your breastbone you might call thick, hard bone right in the middle of your chest, very strong.
Is that where people give like
Well, below that. Yeah, you press on that for CPR below the sternum. Okay. And again, that's a protective bone, helps protect internal organs like your heart. Okay, then you have the ribs, the rib cage, which are also protective organs that help to protect the lungs and the heart.
there's 24 of them?
And then, and that in humans. And then in the arms, we have your upper arm. Okay, top part of your arm is a single thick bone here. Okay, it's called the humerus. About 6. What are these bones?
Your vertebrae.
Vertebrae. The vertebrae which protect the spinal cord. They also give you your posture. Okay, and the human vertebrae, the human backbone, has this sort of S-shaped curve where it sort of comes in at the back, the lower back, comes out. That allows our center of gravity to be right over our feet, allowing us to easily balance and walk upright.
Is that kind of like your spine?
Yeah, you might call it your spine, the bones. Your spinal cord is inside of those vertebrae. Yeah. So those are the vertebrae. Then your forearm. Your forearm actually is 2 bones in there. You can't see them if they're 2 bones, but you can feel them in there. So those 2 bones are the ulna and the radius. Okay. The ulna is this one. If you hold your hand sort of straight, the ulna is the one attached on the pinky side of your forearm. Okay. Then on the other side, attached to the thumb side, okay, that's the radius. Okay. And if you feel, so the ulna is basically stable, and as you rotate your wrist, your radius moves with it. If you hold on tightly to your forearm, and then if you twist your wrist, can you feel the bones moving in there? Yeah, they move. So that gives you that mobility in your forearm and in your wrist joint. To help remember, the way I remember it is that, which one is the ulna, which is the radius. Your thumb is a finger you can move sort of in 360 degrees, sort of in a full circle, and a radius is a measurement of a circle. So you can remember, thumb goes with the radius, pinky goes with ulna. Get that?
When I hold my arm like this and twist it like this, it clicks.
Yeah, sometimes there's a little stuff in there, little anatomical differences that you may click or pop or Yep.
I can remember it because the ulna stick to the U and it's under the thumb.
Whatever works for you to remember, go for it.
Wait,
Yeah?
then is cartilage the thing you can
Yeah, we'll get there. All right.
Crack?
What's that?
When you crack your fingers out of cracks.
No, that's little pockets of air that are trapped within those joints. All right, the pelvis is what the vertebrae attach to and the legs attach to. Helps with your femurs, form the hip joints. Okay, so this is the pelvis, this big thick bone up here. Ten, you may call your tailbone. Okay, it's called the sacrum is the actual term for it. A few years ago, my daughter, I guess it was like 5 years ago, we were going sledding at the parkway and she went over this huge jump and landed on her butt. And she was complaining about it. And I said, "Oh, you're fine." And so I made her go back up and I pushed her back down the hill. She actually had fractured her tailbone. So she never let me forget that one. And even so, it's one that takes a long time to heal. There's nothing really to do for it. You can't like get a cast or anything. And so it just heals on its own. But still, sometimes when she goes out, we go on a long car trip. We drive to South Carolina. It still hurts sometimes. But that'll probably be there forever. Just because there's just some, when it heals, it doesn't heal fully, and there's still some areas of pressure. Nick?
Just out of curiosity, you know, like how at certain times when your eyebrow moves and you don't even move it?
Like twitches?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. How is that called?
I don't know. Those are just little things that happen sometimes. Like sometimes my eye will twitch, like my eyelid will sometimes twitch a little bit. You can feel it. A lot of times it has to do with if you're really tired or stressed out. Sometimes it happens more.
Sometimes my eyelid twitches.
Yeah, it's just sort of common things. All right, let's finish. We only have a minute here. So our femur is the largest bone in your body. It's your upper leg bone. Very thick, very strong. Okay. Then you have two lower leg bones. Just like in your forearm you have two bones, in your shin you have two bones. Okay. Those are the tibia and the fibula. They do not rhyme. People always want to say tibia and fibia. Tibia and fibula. I used to always do that. The tibia is the big, stronger one in the front. That's the shin bone you can feel. And then your fibula is back on the side. And then your patella is your... All right, so we'll continue on tomorrow.